Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is February 15th, and today we're going to be taking a look at this ridge offshore and what kind of systems we can expect riding over the top of it. Looks like we're going to get some weak disturbances during the week this week, and then a potentially stronger system moving through next weekend. As you can see, last night's system is down here now over the southwest, moving across the Intermountain West, and this is going to eventually move off into the plains and bring some severe weather Wednesday and then Thursday further east. You can see some of this moisture moving up from the south in response to that low pressure system developing. And if you look at the visible here, you can see this cold air overtaking the Pacific Ocean here. You can see some ship's tracks as these ships go back and forth across the Pacific Ocean here. Shows up nicely in the lower stratus layer there. Got an upper level low out here northeast of Hawaii. They call these Kona lows when they get cut off. This is not a particularly strong one. It'll increase some trade wind showers there through Hawaii, but not much else. And then we'll take a look at the extended forecast in detail too. Well, we were pretty warm last week, and are we experiencing kind of a false spring here? We're still in winter, and we'll take a look at the extended and see just what kind of conditions we can expect on in through April for the Pacific Northwest, or at least to the best of our knowledge at this point. So now looking at the rest of the country, you can see we have the wind advisories and the high wind watches and warnings through portions of California, Nevada, and Arizona as this system moves through the region there. And we have some winter weather advisories, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and northeast Nevada. And eventually this system's going to emerge out of the plains here into tomorrow, and it's bringing some red flag warnings from fire danger, low relative humidities, and gusty winds across the plains there. So heads up, and that's all. That system's also going to spawn some severe weather across the southern plains there, Oklahoma, Texas. There is a tornado threat with this area too, but storm mode should be fairly messy, so not a huge event. And looking on into Thursday's threat, as you can see, it slides off east towards Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and portions of Tennessee and Kentucky there. So jumping back towards the Pacific Northwest here, you can see we've got the current snow water equivalent percent of normal for February 15th today, and we've got the Cascades at right around average, so that's a good thing. You can see the upper Yakima and the Olympics are below average, and lower Yakima substantially so, and this is where the greatest drought concern lies through Washington State right now. So we need to keep getting systems to get through this ridge and bring some snowfall for the mountains and precipitation to eastern Washington, so we can alleviate some of those drought concerns going into spring and summer, as we are under extreme drought for some portions of Washington and some exceptional drought down into Oregon, especially the eastern slopes of the Cascades. So taking a look at the drought monitor there, you can see that exceptional drought for eastern Oregon, and you can see that exceptional drought for portions of Montana too. And you can see extreme drought is quite prevalent over eastern Oregon into South Washington and for much of Montana as well. So we need these systems to keep coming through here. And just to remind you guys that drought is common, so this isn't like the end of the world at this point too, but it is, it does impact farmers out there, especially eastern portions of the state. Checking avalanche danger across the Cascades today, you can see that generally there's low avalanche danger now for Snoqualmie Pass, Stevens Pass, and for east slopes of the Cascades. But if you're in the backcountry, North Cascades, West Slope Central, or West Slope South, or Mount Hood down there, make sure to check out this Northwest Avalanche Center site. Go ahead and click where you're going. It gives really good information on what to look for if you're concerned about avalanche danger for those areas. So checking out what we can expect for the rest of the week here and on into next week, and you can see the residual showers going on for the Cascades. We put this into motion here, and you can see a weak system move down through early Wednesday morning, some precipitation, generally light for the Cascades and the Rocky Mountain areas. And another weak system will move through Thursday morning over the top of this ridge too, and just bring generally light precipitation amounts, maybe some drizzle through western Washington and Oregon, or very light rain. As we go into the weekend, though, a much stronger system drops down out of the northwest, and this is going to bring some good mountain snowfall, hopefully, and classic Puget Sound convergence zone signature going all the way into Sunday morning there, as this snow makes its way all the way down into California. Pretty chilly system. There's an Arctic high up here with some Arctic air powering this system down through. And then we're probably going to get another break from precip for a while, so hopefully this drops some good mountain snows and helps alleviate some drought concerns for the drought-stricken west of the U.S. Now, what kind of snowfall totals can we expect coming up here? You can see the weak system move through Wednesday and then Thursday, not bringing much to the Washington, Oregon Cascades, mainly Rocky Mountains for these first two systems. And then as the weekend comes, you can see that snow start to pile up over the Cascades of Washington, Oregon, Northeast Oregon, and you can see just some pretty good totals through the Rocky Mountain areas by early next week, and all the way down through California. Sierra Nevada is where they really need it as well. So hopefully this is going to be the snowmaker it's advertised to be right now. So here we're looking at 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. We're going to look off into the extended now a bit. So this is the system that moved through the Pacific Northwest last night, brought that convergence zone, that lightning activity just south of SeaTac. And this is eventually going to move out into the plains and cause some severe weather and the snowstorm across the Midwest. Putting this into motion, you can see the big resilient ridge still maintaining itself over us here. And this weak system moves through, might bring some light precipitation, very light precipitation Thursday evening for the Pacific Northwest. But then the ridge retrogrades a bit and allows this polar lobe to get out over us here on into the weekend. This looks like a significant snowmaker as long as it maintains this trajectory here, especially for the mountainous areas. Not in the lowlands, but it is a chilly system, and it is going to bring much needed snow. We can alleviate a bit of those drought concerns, and hopefully it doesn't stay dry too long after that. As you can see, this trough really open up over the southwest, and the ridge just kind of hangs out over the Pacific Northwest here, with maybe a return to some zonal flow in the extended, but it's hard to tell right now. So taking a look at the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, and you notice how, we're not getting snowfall or anything down in the lowlands here, but we are below average. That's what these maps are. This is just giving you the percentage of, the chances of what it is to be below average. It doesn't necessarily mean Arctic air or anything extremely cold. You're just, it's just a general probability map. So going into the 3 to 4 week temperature outlook, equal chances here. You can see much above average there for the southeast. And here we go, seasonal temperature outlook. This is February, March into April. So we're still forecast to be below average on into spring, which is typical for a La Nina year. So this is something to remember. It was warm the last few days, and a lot of people think, hey, maybe spring's here and we're just kind of done with winter. I caution against that type of thinking. And here's precipitation outlook, February, March, April. So a little cooler and a little above normal precipitation, which we could really use for eastern portions of the state. So hopefully this is correct. And now we're going to look out to the European weeklies. This goes way out into the future here too. So let's just kind of play along here. This is the system moved through last night, and this is going day by day here. Look at that ridge out there, very persistent. And this is picking up next weekend's event here too, which could be a fairly significant snowmaker for the west. So this is a good thing. And then you see that ridge never seems to be far away on the Pacific Northwest. So we might go through a period here in late February where we're thinking, hey, maybe winter's over and we're off to spring. But then watch as we go into the extended here. You can see the troughing kind of open up over the west coast here. And then you'll probably hear people start to complain about, hey, well, what happened to spring here? We're getting into March and it's nice and chilly and rainy and cold. And that's kind of what happens during La Nina years. So this would not surprise me at all. As you can see, the ridge is backed up in this scenario and allows for that cooler air to get over us. And this is almost to the first day of spring at this point. So we go on to the future and see things kind of smooth out as we go into end of March and on into April. But, it's very low confidence in a forecast like this at this range. But it's typical of La Nina winters. So in springs, La Nina springs tend to be much chillier and much wetter than normal. So we're looking at that possibility as we go into spring. So don't think that spring is just here yet. We might have to go through a chilly March and April as well. So just heads up there. And we'll take some more looks in this upcoming week and tomorrow on that system coming in this weekend. Looks like a pretty active system coming through on Saturday. So we'll take a look closely at that. Looks like a powerful Puget Sound convergence zone and snows all the way down into southern Oregon and the Cascades and the Olympic Mountains and the coastal ranges look like some good snowfall too, as well as the Rockies of Montana, Idaho, and British Columbia. So much needed storm coming up for this weekend so we can build our snowpack back up. So hopefully you guys are liking these videos, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll talk about that system for the next weekend a little bit more.